Hello class. Today we will be discussing the chapter Demographic Attributes. As in this chapter, earlier we already have discussed about the population composition and the characteristics, mostly the elements that affects the population of a place, in which we discussed about the population variance in India, where we discussed about the rural population and urban population. As discussed in earlier class, we came to know that India is a land of villages because of the maximum number of people living in the rural areas than as to that of urban areas. So today we will discuss on this urban population and how they form urbanization. So urbanization, a term that implies to a total number of population residing in the urban areas. In fact, you can say living in the urban areas. And we found that the urbanization rate in India, or percentage of urban population in India, is 31.16%. So this is the level of urbanization in India. Now we also understand that not every places in India has the same rate of urbanization or same percentage of urbanization. We find there are some states which has an urban population more than 31.16%. There are also states which has less than 31.16%. Amongst this, the states that has population of, in fact, their urban population more than that of 31% is Goa, Kerala, Karnataka, and so on. Here, Goa leads the race with almost 62.17% of urbanization, or in fact the urban population, while the other states are slightly lesser than 50%, but over 31.16%. But there are also states in India whose urban population seems to be lesser than that of the national average of 31.16%. So the states that we mostly find with lesser population or urban populations are Rajasthan, then you have Uttar Pradesh. These are certain states where population level, in fact the urban population level is much lesser than as compared to the India's average, the national average. In this regards, we can consider one of the state, Himachal Pradesh, the state in India which has the least urban population with just over 10%, with only 10.04% of the population reside in the urban areas. Now there are certain factors that has resulted for the variations in urbanization. If we see the states like Goa, Kerala and Karnataka, they have lot opportunities related to job, related to health, or even a better life standard which people get attracted, and hence people start moving to these states, resulting in increasing in the populations in the urban areas. While if I consider Himachal Pradesh, this is one of the Himalayan states where we do not find such opportunities as opposed to the other states in India. Hence, what we see, people from Himachal Pradesh, they mostly move out in search of job because they do not have. And since it is an hilly region, an Himalayan state, so hence accessibility becomes also a big question in this state. So this is the reason why this state has mostly the rural population than as compared to the other states. If you again consider Rajasthan, despite being the largest state in India, has lesser population in its urban areas like towns and cities. The reason being, you see Rajasthan is mostly covered by desert. So it's obvious that desert that provides an extreme conditions to live does not facilitate people here with a better standard of life. So this results in lesser population residing in the urban areas in Rajasthan. So this population, as we see, to to the rural and urban population can further be categorized as under with the age factor and their sex. So two of the elements that determines the composition of a population, or you can say characteristics of population, is age and sex. So what we see is, in terms of this, first as a sex composition as an element of population composition, we see is divided into two categories. One is a male, the other is female. So in India again, we see that the male population is dominant over the female population. So we get a ratio between the male and a female population of India to what is we call sex ratio. So then what is sex ratio? We count the number of female population per 1000 male population. Number of female population per 1000 male population is considered to be sex ratio. In this regards, we find the sex ratio in India is 940 per 1000 males. If we find the female population to be higher, in fact, when we say that the female population exceeds the male population, then we can consider the sex ratio to be high. While when we see that the male population is more dominant over female population, then this is regarded as a male dominated society, wherein we see that the sex ratio is less. Now this sex ratio itself also determines a lot about the population within the country. There are various factors in India resulting to lesser number of female population. The first factor being the preferences given to the child, in fact the male child in Indian society over the female child, results in lesser number of female population. At the time of birth or at the time of giving birth, female populations mostly give up their life because of either lack of medical facilities or because of lack of health of that particular female. In India, it is also seen that the education policy for the females is at a low regards than as compared to the male. In this, what we can say is, we see that the female population in schools and colleges or universities are much lesser than as compared to the male population. So lack of education also results in lesser sex ratio. That is, less number of female population to that of male population. It is not just that. There are various health issues related to the female body, which is disregarded in most cases, leading to early death of females. So this is also one of the concern related to lesser sex ratio in India, wherein we find that the male dominant society in India obviously sees with a lesser female population because of these factors. But we cannot deny that sex ratio is an equally important element that determines the population of one particular place or a region. There are various states in India which has higher rate of female ratios than as compared to male, and equally there are also states where males are more than as compared to female. That in other words, you can say that it's less than the national average of 940 per 1000. So in this regards, Kerala heads the list with 1084 females per 1000 male. That means Kerala as a state, its sex ratio is 1084. That means the female population in Kerala is much more than that of male population, resulting its sex ratio to be higher. While there are also states in India which has its sex ratio less than that of the national average. In this regards, if we take Haryana as one of the state with only 877 877 77 females per 1000 males. This concerns that the state has higher number of male population than as compared to its female population. So here we see a low sex ratio. So this, again, what we see is not every state has an equal sex ratio. There are some which has higher than the national average, and there are certain states which has sex ratios less than that of the national average. Thank you, class, for the day.